Would you please first introduce yourself in English and in Te Reo Māori if you feel comfortable?
Kia ora, ko Steve Renata tōku ingoa, no emi te maunga, no manga iti te awa, ko whangaroa moana, ko mā tātou te waka, no Ngāpuia hau, ko Ngāti Pakehi, me Ngāti Rehia, hoku hapu. Huti whānau mai au I Kawakawa, Bay of Islands, I Tipuaki au I Milton, Otago, kei Tamaki Makaurau e noho ana, o reira tēnā koe. My name's Stephen Renata. I whakapapa to the far north of Aotearoa, New Zealand, through the Ngāti Pakehi, Ngāti Rehia sub-tribes and Ngāpuhi tribe. I was born in Kawakawa, which is up near the Bay of Islands, far north, but I actually grew up in the deep south of New Zealand in a small town called Milton, and currently live here in New Zealand's largest city, Auckland. Kia ora.
Thank you. How did you learn Te Reo Māori and English?
I sort of grew up in an era and in a geography where there wasn't much happening in Te Reo as a young person, and so I was very late, if you like, in the learning of Te Reo. That's been a mixture of learning through technology with different types of apps, attending various courses, whether they be face-to-face or online, and just being around people that are speaking Te Reo a lot more, including my daughters.
Nice. And what does that mean to you to be able to speak Te Reo more now and also work with the language at Kiwa Digital?
Yeah, I guess there's a sense of feeling more complete as a person who originates from this country. Not to say that English has been a bad thing, and English has got me through my entire life, and it's been a great life. But I think whenever you have more than one language, you have another deeper sense of the world, because words mean things, and when we go from one culture to another, one language to another, you suddenly realise there's so much more depth to what's being said and expressed. And so that's been a good sort of internal reflection on it. I think from a pride perspective, because that other language for me is our Indigenous language, it makes me feel proud, and I guess even another level of feeling centered and grounded in the country. Not that I didn't feel grounded, I always did. But there are certain words that will come about, particularly if it's a pupu, a word of a destination, of a location. There's a history to that, a whakapapa to that, and be able to know that history, that whakapapa, and be able to pronunciate the word, it feels great.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about Kiwa Digital and your role in the organization?
Yeah, Kiwa Digital is a media localization cultural services agency. We've been around for over 2 decades. We started off in the audio post-production sector, so think of things like subtitling and dubbing of television and film. And our founder, Rhonda Kite, created our first technology platform called VoiceQ, which enables the process of dubbing to achieve high quality and efficiency in a process that is typically very, very complex, has been very, very manual, and the levels of quality have tended to vary a lot. So that's what kind of got us started as a business. And then through the early 2000s, when the iPad first came onto the market, she spotted another opportunity, which was to synchronize text and sound and create the first form of ebooks. And that was also looking at age groups, so tamariki, young children, how you could use that type of technology to improve their literacy. So it's a little bit like you'd like your 3-year-old to be speaking and reading like a 5-year-old. And so there are technology tools that can help that. And then also technology, that type of technology going from one language to another. And so we work closely with the Ministry of Education with that technology over the years. And then more recently, using that technology to help adults in the workplace here in Aotearoa start to learn more about Te Ao Māori, the Māori world, and the language. Lastly, the most recent development for us has been moving from developing a lot of apps in the cultural space, taking what we learned from the audio post-production life of 20 years in dubbing, and creating a new platform called Culture Q. And essentially what Culture Q does is it is designed first and foremost for Indigenous groups to be able to collect and curate their digital assets, whatever they might be. They could be songs, waiata, they could be karakia prayers, they could be information that relates to land claims, it could be genealogy, the list of what it could be is endless. And enabling them to have that in a secure environment and enable data and narrative sovereignty. And then once achieving that goal is then being able to use Guardian or Kaitiaki AI, so that's ethical AI that works only on the files within the platform, doesn't scrape the internet, to be able to research it, create insights, create resources, and sort of move into, if you like, automated publishing. And then for those that are looking for more of a membership type platform, or CRM, I guess the term we would use in a technical sense, is being able to make sure that that membership data is up to speed and quality assured. And then when they want to try and communicate with the various members, they can provide the members with useful information to help them improve their lives in whatever way is appropriate.
Well, very cool. Thank you. And can you speak a bit to how you personally got into this organization or this work?
Yeah, I'd spent half my adult life in the fitness industry, in the global fitness industry, to be fair, and with a company called Les Mills International, who are the world's largest creators of group fitness programs. Les Mills work with, I think they're up to 30,000 facilities worldwide that are licensing the Les Mills group fitness programs. They also have a big on-demand platform. And when I finished with Les Mills International sort of 15 years ago, my previous CEO at Les Mills, I'd stayed in contact with Jill Tattersall, and she had moved into the new life, which was partly doing directorships within New Zealand, particularly in the sort of education space. But then she came across this business called Kiwa Digital, and she met with the founder, Rhonda Kite, and sort of fell in love with the purpose, the vision, the aspiration of Kiwa Digital, and started to help Rhonda build up the business. And so then when I became free from Les Mills, Jill knew my skill set, particularly in sort of the business development area and leading teams, and asked me if I'd be interested in having a look at it. And so, yeah, it was kind of through a friend that I trusted. Obviously, the purpose of the business sort of struck a chord with me, particularly the cultural side of it, being part Māori myself. And overnight, I'd become a shareholder. It sort of went from a cup of tea to seeing some stuff going, let's do it. And so I jumped in, boots and all, and became an owner of the company and CEO and managing director.
Wow, that's amazing. Is there something that you're especially proud of in your work so far?
I don't think there's any one thing. We do a lot of things, and I'm fortunate enough to be in connection with a lot of things. I think as a business owner, the first thing I'm proud of is that we employ people. We actually create jobs. We've been creating jobs for over 20 years, albeit a small team. We sort of float between sort of 8 to 15 people, depending on the year and the seasonality and what's going on. But to know that we've been able to create those jobs of meaningful employment, and often I would say above the average wage salary, that makes me feel good. And that's something that started when the business was inceptioned by Rhonda Kite, and Jill and I felt proud about that. Within that employment piece too is also I don't know if we did it intentionally. Sometimes things just happen a little bit like by good fortune, like is diversity. So we have a wide range of diversity, particularly cultural, different people from different cultures, Korean, uh, New Zealand, Chinese, Māori, Pacifica, and that tends to grow. And also we have a good diversity of female to male, wahine te tane, and different skill sets. So I kind of feel like we've got the united colours of Benetton in our team. A lot of the team are younger. If I sort of put myself in the board and Jill in the above 50s, we have a lot of staff that are in their 20s.
Oh,
So, if you're sort of saying diversity looks like this, age, culture, genders, whatever, I feel like we're ticking all of those boxes. And when you are able to have a team with that sort of diversity, I think it is true. You do see some productivity aspects and some innovation stuff that you may not see with a less diverse team, particularly in our sector, which is a mixture of culture and technology. Um, and then, of course, it's the clients you get to work with, and we work with such a range. It can be someone up in the far north in a small community that's doing some education. It could be the Cherokee Nation in the United
yeah.
States. It could be the New Zealand Treasury government,
Wow.
local, central government, local government. So it could be Netflix. On any given week, I can literally be talking to the widest group of people in the world, and then sit down and have my dinner at night and go, did that actually happen from a little wee company like us? And so yeah, that ability to have so much access to the world, and I say this in a very humble way, is an incredible privilege. And then lastly would be the products and services that the team create that are out there, changing lives for people. So at one extreme, you've got software called VoiceQ that's been used to dub the world's most viewed television series, which was Squid Game. So that was a
Right.
Korean show dubbed into many languages, including English, and subtitled. The English dub was done with our software in Los
Wow.
Angeles. So, people say, is your service, your technology impacting the world? Answer, absolutely, right?
For sure.
But then on the other hand, it might be that an app that we've created that's, got some Reo Māori or Pacifica languages in it, and it's helping someone within central government learn the language and feel comfortable and respectful when they're participating in that situation. Or it might be an app that's helping a 3-year-old read and speak like a 5-year-old. All of those things, you sort of get, you pinch yourself when someone's told you this is what your product's done. You can't put a price on that. So, yeah, proud on a whole range of things, and proud and privileged and humbled to be having that opportunity.
No, yeah, that's incredible. Um, yeah, I'm wondering now if there are a few maybe biggest challenges that you have in your work.
Um, Technology is an interesting sector. It moves at hyper speed. Even being in an industry, for over 10 years, I feel like I'm still trying to catch up. Every day you get up and something has shifted or changed, and that's partly to do with the amount of money that's being thrown at the global industry. And then if you layer in AI, it's just like growth on steroids. And so trying to understand what is happening and where we fit in or don't fit in, or whether that's a competitive thing that could destroy our business or it's something that could add value to our business. That's an everyday checkpoint for us to sort of go, okay, how do we exist and what's moving really quickly. Um, the other one, of course, is always trying to get the best staff on board, and fortunately, we've been pretty lucky, I think, in our recruitment of staff. Part of that is because when people hear the Kiwa story, which is what you're hearing today, most of them go, I want to work for that company. I
Yeah.
want to be part of what you've just told us. And it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing what I've shared today is lies. It's the truth. But working with Kiwa, you work hard. To do the sort of stuff we're doing when you're trying to take on the world and change the lives of people. It sounds awesome. It requires a lot of work and dedication. And because we're an international company, we don't work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, because on Saturday morning, that's the United States Friday. On Monday, the Northern Hemisphere is quiet, but it's all go here in New Zealand and Australia. And so being part of an international company, the first thing the team has to get used to is that it's a longer week. And the hours, you might start at 6 in the morning and you might be on call at 10 at night.
Yeah.
So to deal with that longer week, longer day type thing, we give people a lot of room to move, and often they're working remotely. So we try not to micromanage, but giving people the flexibility, for parents that are staff members, saying to them, hey, whatever you need to do to drop your kids off at school and pick them up, go do it. And so the flexibility of work to home life is really important. The younger generation like the idea that they don't have to be in the office. So that remote working is a big piece. And we're pretty generous in doing that. I mean, we work on a high trust model because, when people aren't around, you don't know what's going on. And so you're thinking, is Steve actually working or not? But yeah, through trial and error, I think we've found the right profile of people that want to work for Kiwa, have a lot of self-accountability and get on with the jobs. So, but yeah, it's always a challenge. And then lastly would be competitors, so whenever you develop something in technology, and of course you promote it, you're on LinkedIn or some post in the social media somewhere, or you're on the front of the New Zealand Herald, people love it, they applaud it, but someone is wanting to copy it.
Yeah.
And so trying to stay ahead of the competition when you've developed something, that is really tough. Say that your thing is actually different. Nobody's going to be able to develop the same thing. That's hard. And so while you're always polishing the technology itself, I think one of the ways you can create some sort of competitive barrier is through your service. The way that you meet clients, the way that you work with them, the cultural nuances in that is probably the thing that's kept us, I wouldn't say safe for competitors, but at a little bit of a distance, because we put a lot of time into our engagement processes with different cultures. It's not just Reo Māori. This is to do with working with First Nations in Australia, working with Native American groups in the Northern Hemisphere, and so on and so on. And the short version of that is, so what is it you do? We have more meetings. So when you're dealing in a cultural realm, if you say, normally it takes 5 meetings to get this done, I guarantee you with the cultural group, it's going to be 10. So you've got to be prepared mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially to be able to go 10 meetings versus 5 and not fall over. So that's an interesting sort of opportunity or challenge, depends how you look at it, to work through.
Yeah. Between all these challenges and also the long hours, and we've talked a little bit about how language work can sometimes be heavy. Is there a way that you've found that works for you to keep your motivation? I think you've used the words protecting joy before. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like Kiwa Digital's work any harder than any other company's work, because everybody's working hard in some way. It's all relevant. In my working career, not only with Kiwa Digital, for me, health, or hau ora, as we'd say in Māori, is the number one starting point. So that is, how is your health? What's your blood pressure? What's the weight you're carrying? How is your nutrition? Are you getting the right amount of sleep? When you've got stress, how do you deal with that? And a big part of my life, and I'm 60 this year, is physical fitness. So I train every day, and some days 2 days, twice a week, twice a day. And training could be 20 minutes of stretching and a 15-minute walk. It's not like you're at the gym 10 hours a day. But to work at the level Kiwa does nationally and internationally with a team this small, taking on projects this big.
Yeah.
That's the only way I've managed to do it. Now, I'm not suggesting every member of my team is at the gym twice a day like I am, but for me personally, that's absolutely the number one thing that has allowed me to stay doing what I'm doing as long as I have. I think as you get older, to do all the exercise and all that stuff, and recovery is nutrition. So you can't go past a good cup of coffee in the morning, and it might be 2 or 3 in a day, and then of course different types of nutrition. I think coming from the fitness industry, 20 years of Les Mills, I've seen a big shift in nutrition, and so the more vegetarian and for some the vegan is a much bigger option and solution today than it was years ago. And as my mother would say, you can't eat enough greens, Stephen. You can't eat enough fruit. So some of the old sage advice works there. And then I'd say lastly is quality of sleep, not quantity, but quality. I don't sleep. I'm a bad sleeper. Light sleep have been all my life. But if I can get 6 hours of quality sleep, I'm good to go. And then I guess there'll be different tools for people, but I try to make sure I'm around people that are talking about positivity and reality. Doesn't mean you're dismissive and pretending it's it's all happy when it's sad, but always looking at what's the learning in the challenge, today's challenge, or the annual challenge, or whatever. What can you learn from that versus it's a problem? And so just thinking about the learning, it's a bit like playing sport. You're not going to win every single game. So when you lost the game, why did you lose it, and what could you learn from it to avoid that happening again? So I think whenever you approach big challenges, particularly knowing there's going to be a challenge tomorrow and every other day in work, it's how you approach the problem versus even necessarily fixing it. But if you approach it as, oh my goodness, this is a problem, the house is burning down, I've got no hose to put it out, that's kind of your mindset. You will go down a hole in a heartbeat. You do that every day for a week, and by Friday, you're a wreck. So it's how you view problems or challenges versus what you actually do. That's 50% of enabling your energy to stay up and buoyant. Because once you go under the water, it's hard getting back up. And tomorrow's going to be another one. And that's this is not just work. You've probably got your own personal and family issues to deal with. So on any given day, there's going to be a lot of problems. Make sure your energy is an 8 out of 10 as often as you can to take on board what's coming at you. If you drop below 8, too frequently, I'm pretty sure you're heading down a tough route.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. This question's pivoting a little bit, but I was wondering if you could speak a bit to how you see technology, like technology's role in language reclamation / revitalization.
From what I've seen and experienced, I think the first thing that comes to mind is that technology has the ability to make languages more accessible. So let's take a simple example. Te Aka, the Māori dictionary. You've got a dictionary there. We all know what a dictionary is. This one is very focused on Te Reo Māori. And it's really helpful, to get not only, I'd like to know what the word is for hello, kia ora. How do I say it? It's got some audio attached to it. Are there other definitions of kia ora as opposed to just hello? Answer, yes, there is. Kia ora is also directional. Kia means toward you, and ora is how is all of you. So when I say kia ora, one definition is I'm saying how is all of you as opposed to I see you. The how is all of you is actually kind of a nicer view of what was just said. So technology make language more accessible, allow you to get more depth and understanding of language. And then different languages that have different levels of complexity. So Te Reo Māori in comparison to Cherokee is quite simple. Cherokee language is very, very complex, and they have a lot of things around tonality. So you could say the same word with 6 or 7 different tonalities, it means absolutely different in each instance. And so if you didn't understand the tonality impact, you could be speaking very badly or offending people the whole way through, or not making any sense.
Mhm.
And so the technology with the appropriate audio tone and explaining what that tone means could be very, very beneficial. So I think overall, there's a lot of positives for it. I think in terms of AI, which is more and more involved with all sorts of technology, it's just being aware that AI can still have hallucinogens, and sometimes it doesn't give the correct response. And so if you're relying on the AI as the absolute source of truth, you could go down a bad pathway too. So I would say with AI is keep moving forward, but with caution, and if in doubt, always run it through human quality control, particularly linguists, those that are very, very high in their language. Get them to do a quick check on how that's tracking, and if it's on point or there's a margin of error, and I think you'll be okay.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier talking about ethical AI. I was wondering how you kind of determine the ethics of specific AI and its usage.
Yeah, there's a few things that connect to that theme of being ethical or being a guardian or acting like a kaitiaki, as we'd say in Te Ao Māori. One relates to where the data is stored. So typically, organisations and individuals want their data stored within the country they reside. And the reason for that is then the laws of that country apply. So if I'm a New Zealander, Māori, and my data is stored in Australia, it's the laws of Australia that apply, not the laws of New Zealand. So it's the first thing is, where's the location of the data? Secondly would be, do we have consent for the data? So where did I get that data from, and did the individuals or group give me the approval and their consent to put it wherever it is? Then would also, following on from that, is do I have the consent or approval to use that data, to mine that data, to go through it and research it in some shape or form to gain insights? Is that a yes or a no? Let's assume we have got the approval and consent. Who can I then share any of that data, whether it's the raw data or the insightful data, with? Do I have consent and approval? So there are a lot of consent and approval pieces with that. With the AI, and again, I'm trying to simplify the response here, is typically the good AI engines that we're familiar with, the ChatGPTs of the world, which are fantastic, they are scraping the internet to produce their responses, amongst many other things. In doing so, they release the data to the internet, and so you've lost your data sovereignty. And so that sort of, if you like, wall of releasing of the data is a big issue that we deal with. And so for most of the Indigenous groups that we've spoken with and are working currently with, they would prefer that if AI is involved in their data, it's only working on the data that they've approved within the Culture Queue platform. It's not scraping the internet. And so that's what we worked on and achieved thus far. And then the other part is, what are you asking the AI agent to do? Are you asking it sort of a generalist question to go away and look at this data and give you an answer? Who is Kiwa Digital? And it goes away and checks, and if there's Kiwa Digital files and information inside the system, it'll come back and give you a very good answer with the referencing, which you can actually take you directly to the source document and show you where it pulled from, which is great. As you move away from, say, general questions and starting to ask linguistic questions of it, that's where it starts to get more complex. And so those that are building AI engines specifically for language translation and then moving into creating sentences and so forth, you really need to do your homework on making sure that the AI agent is trained correctly to give you the correct response. And so I think that's the big opportunity, is in that translation and beyond. what the AI can do that. And meanwhile, while it's doing all of that, staying within the platform of choice, as opposed to scraping the internet, unless they don't care about the data sovereignty.
That makes a lot of sense. I have one last question if we have time, but also, okay. Do you have any advice for other people who are trying to use technology for language reclamation?
Definitely explore all your options. There's lots and lots of options out there. So do your homework. Ask the hard questions. Keep asking yourself, why do you need technology for your language pursuit? Because it may be the actual answer is you don't. So ask that, ask that hard question of yourself first. Like, why do I need technology? Why can't we just do, pen and paper and people to people? Can't we keep going? And then if the answer is because of the following reasons, we can't achieve what we're trying to without technology, then look at the various options. And it's like there are many, many of them. If you are someone that's a little bit more entrepreneurial and saying, we want to build our own technology, definitely go and speak to an organization that has gone down this route, because you can spend a lot of money really fast and not get to where you thought it was when you looked at your original technology roadmap. In my 15 years at Kiwa, I have never seen a roadmap that has delivered on time. So if they said it was going to take a year, it was 18 months. It wasn't 12. If they said it was going to be a month, it was 6 weeks. And when you're building out a roadmap, which is the right thing to do and you've got time, there's always money attached to it. So every time you go over the predicted time, I guarantee there's some type of cost involved. And if you're beginning at the start, there's not a lot of flex on overage. If you've got investors or it's your own money, you mortgaged your house on this thing, you start creeping over to 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% past the delivery dates. That can be incredibly stressful. So before you jump in, talk to some people that have been there and done it and made the mistakes, and how did they survive the mistakes. And if I happen to be one of those people you'd like to talk to, happy to share my insights. But at the end of the day, figure out what your passion is and go for it. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Otherwise life is very boring, because everybody's going to tell you can't do things. So just figure out what you're truly passionate about, what you're prepared to jump out of bed any day of the week, what you're prepared to work 60, 70 hours for when no one's paying you. When you found that, go for it.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for meeting with me. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Ngā mihi nui.
Okay. Ka kite anō. Kia ora.